Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to read Pumpkin Soup. It's by Helen Cooper. And look, there's only one title or one person, so that means she wrote the words and she drew the pictures. Very talented. All right, look, there they are eating soup. There is a cat and a duck and a squirrel. Pumpkin Soup. Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper. Deep in the woods, there's an old white cabin with pumpkins in the garden. There's a good smell of soup, and at night, with luck, you might see a bagpiping cat through the window, and a squirrel with a banjo, and a small singing duck. Do you see the cat and her bagpipes right in the middle? And see the duck singing? And there is the squirrel with the banjo. Pumpkin soup, the best you ever tasted. Made by the cat who slices up the pumpkin. Made by the squirrel who stirs in the water. Made by the duck who scoops up a pipkin of salt and tips in just enough. They all have a job to do, huh? Look, there is the little pipkin of salt. They slurp their soup and they play their song. Then they pop off to bed in a quilt stitched together by the cat, embroidered by the squirrel, and filled with the fine feathers from the duck. And it's peaceful in the old white cabin. Everyone has his own job to do. Everyone is happy. Or so it seems. There they are, all tucked in under the quilt. It looks like cat is sleeping, squirrel is sleeping, but duck is awake. I wonder if he's thinking. But one morning the duck woke up early. He tiptoed into the kitchen and he smiled at the squirrel's special spoon. You see him reaching it with his beak. Wouldn't it be fine, he murmured, if I could be the head cook? Look, he is thinking. This is a little thought bubble, and he's thinking about himself holding the spoon and wearing the chef's hat. He drew up a stool and hopped up on top and reached until his beak just touched the tip of the spoon. Kerplunk! Down it clattered. Then the duck trotted back to the bedroom and held up the spoon and said, "Today is my day to stir the soup." Look at Cat's face. Is Cat real happy about Duck taking her job? She looks angry, right? Her eyebrows are like this. And her mouth is kind of like that. That's mine! Squeak, squeak, squeak. Oh no, hold on. The squirrel is the stirrer. So Cat was mad, but so is Squirrel. Oh, look at Squirrel's eyes. That's mine, squeaked the squirrel. Stirring is my job. Give that back. You're too small, snapped the cat. We'll cook the way we always have. But Duck held on tight to the spoon until Squirrel tugged with all his might and whoops! Duck. Wow. The spoon spun through the air and bopped Cat on the head. Then there was trouble, a horrible squabble, a row, a racket, a rumpus in an old white cabin. They are fighting. I'm not staying here, wailed the duck. You never let me help with anything. And he packed up his wheelbarrow, put on his hat, and waddled away. You see him there? You'll be back, stormed the cat, after we've cleaned up. And the squirrel shook his spoon in the air. But the duck didn't come back. Not for breakfast. Not even for lunch. I'll find him, scoffed the cat. He'll be hiding outside. There is Squirrel. Shaking his spoon at Duck out the window. He is angry. I bet he's in the pumpkin patch. But the duck was not in the pumpkin patch. They could not find him anywhere. big pumpkins. So they waited all that long afternoon. Look, these are all those places that they're waiting. See, they're at the top of the stairs, and they're just waiting, twiddling their thumbs. And then pretty soon Squirrel goes in, and Cat is waiting by himself. And then Cat goes in, and then they're waiting inside by the clock. They look worried. They're looking at the clock and wondering where Duck is. The cat watched the door. The squirrel paced the floor. Pacing is when you walk back and forth and back and forth. You see little squirrely footprints. That Duck will be sorry when he comes home, they muttered. But Duck didn't come home. Not even at soup time. They must have soup for supper. There comes my dog. The soup wasn't tasty. They'd made it too salty. Do you remember whose job it is to put in the salt? It's Duck's job. They didn't feel hungry anyway. They both sobbed over supper, and their tears dripped into the soup and made it even saltier. It says, yuck. Salty, too much salt in the wisps of steam. We should have let him stir the soup, sniffed the squirrel. He was only trying to help, wept the cat. Let's go out and look for him. They're so sad. They miss their friend. They're sorry about being mean. Look at their chairs. See, Duck's chair has a duck on it, and he's got duck heads on the tops, and he is missing. But look, here's Cat, and Cat has cat, and cat, and Squirrel has squirrel. Cool, huh? The cat and the squirrel were scared as they wandered down the path in the dark, dark woods. They feared for the duck all alone with the trees, and the foxes, and the wolves, and the witches, and the bears. They couldn't find him. So look, Helen Cooper, the author of this book, also the illustrator, she drew it so the trees look like the legs of these things. It's really their imagination, but they're scared thinking about all the things that could be in the woods. Here is Duck in their imagination. He's got his own pumpkin. On and on they trudged until they reached the edge of a steep, steep cliff. Maybe he fell down that! Look, they're imagining him falling over the edge of the cliff. There's his little hat. Wailed the cat. I'll save him! Squeaked the squirrel, and he scrambled down on a long, shaky rope. And he searched all around on the ground, but he couldn't find the duck. So did he really go over the cliff? No, that was just in their minds. They were imagining that, kind of like the spooky woods. Then Cat whispered in a sad little voice, Duck might have found better friends. He might, sighed the squirrel. Friends who let him help. And the more they thought about it, as they plodded back, the more they were sure they were right. So now this is their imagination. Here is Duck making soup with his new friends, and it says, It was this soup made Duck famous. How does he do it? They go in thin and they come out fat, because the soup's so good they eat it all. So they're imagining that he's got this Duck's kitchen, and he's making lots of money and being very successful with his new friend selling soup. That's in their minds. Not really real. But when they were almost home, they saw a light shining from the old white cabin. It's Duck! They shrieked as they burst through the door. And Duck was so happy to see them. He was also very hungry and thought it was late and thought they would all make, what do you think they're going to make? Pumpkin soup. They are very happy to see each other, aren't they? Their eyes are like this. Their mouths are like this, smiley. There they are making pumpkin soup. And remember, it's usually Squirrel's job to stir. They let Duck stir. Is he good at it? Oh, look at this mess. Oh my goodness. But was it a nice thing to let him? Yeah. When Duck stirred, the cat and the squirrel didn't say a word. Not even when Duck stirred the soup so fast that it slopped right out of the pot. Not even when the pot got burnt. I need to change my computer settings so it stops freezing me out. And then the duck showed the squirrel how to measure out the salt, and the soup was the best you ever tasted. Because remember, they didn't know how to do it before, but Duck showed Squirrel how to do it. He taught him. So once again, it was peaceful in the old white cabin. Until the duck said, I think I'll play the bagpipes tomorrow. Cat's bagpipes. Uh-oh. And that started another little fight. Aw, man. Thanks for reading with me, Pumpkin Soup.